Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Alton West. Today I'll have guests on for Dash for LaGrange, and also I'll have on the city manager that will be discussing the 2012-2013 budget. So stay tuned for those interviews in just a moment. Welcome back to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have guests on from Dash for LaGrange. I have the homeownership manager, Elia Baltez, and also the housing specialist, Amy Grantham. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Alton.
Well, it's a great pleasure to sit down with both of you all, and I know that Dash has a lot of great things going on in the over off the Lincoln Street and in that area. And I know that you two ladies are one to have your fingers on the pulse of all those happenings that are going on. But before we get started talking about some of those things, Elia, talk a little bit about your role there as the homeownership manager, please.
Well, the home ownership, we do different things now, and of course we do the different programs. We do pre-purchase for people that may want to see where they're at. Are they ready to buy a home, or do they want to buy a home in the future? And you know, it's such a daunting process to buy a home, you know.
Right.
So, but we pretty much will follow them along the way and go over all those obstacles that they may have. We actually give them a time frame. So if they stick with the program, they'll be ready. Okay. They can, really. So we also have started a new credit rebuilding program this year because, with the economy and a lot of people are not ready to buy a home. So it's kind of put them, maybe they lost their job or their hours were cut. So, and we're not getting jobs back as quick as we used to. So what they're doing is created more debt. So that's why that program, so we can help people to manage that debt and kind of catch up so they can get financially secure.
Absolutely.
So we do it in that. And of course we do other like rental counseling and stuff. We do education, so everything's about education.
Absolutely. You talked about, it's a pretty daunting task. I mean, I think back to the time when I bought my first home, and if you don't have some knowledge of what you're doing, it can be very confusing.
Yes.
And that's where I think where you guys come in and kind of help take that confusion out of that process.
Exactly.
Well, good, very good. And that's why we're so happy to have you all. Let me just ask Amy, because Amy, I think you're pretty new to Dash, about what, 2 years now? Almost?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half, okay. Now you are the housing specialist there. Talk a little bit about your role there.
I work with low-income homeowners to help them make repairs to their home that are health and safety code related. I work with general contractors and subcontractors in the area to get those repairs done, so it's done by qualified professionals. I work with staff from the Department of Community Affairs in Atlanta. That's where we get a lot of our funding from. So I take care of the behind-the-scenes paperwork and also some of the supporting work that goes into getting the grants to begin with.
Okay, and that's a lot of work. I know when you say behind-the-scenes work, a lot of times when we see the stuff out, the finished product, we don't think about all the process and the work and the effort that goes in behind the scenes. So we're very thankful for you being there.
You.
Now, before you came to Dash, tell us what you were doing, Amy.
I was in education. I was a middle school teacher.
Absolutely. I think some of our members over at City Hall said you taught their kids there. So when we talking about education, because I think, and this is just my personal opinion, had people been a little bit more educated about what they were getting into prior to the market downturn, I think they would have perhaps made different decisions as opposed to decisions that they made at that time. And Elia, to help out with that, I know that you all have orientations that people can come to. Talk a little bit about the orientations that are available.
Well, our orientations is the first step to come into Dash. So it's kind of like you'll come in and we'll give you the history of Dash because you want to know. We try to make sure that people have a good understanding of what they're doing. And so you'll come to the orientation. You'll fill out your application, and we'll do your appointment. And at that appointment, I use all that information. So when they come in, they're going to know exactly. Let's say you just want to get your, you just want to have more money. I would tell everybody, life continues to go on no matter what. You might just want more money for Christmas or gifts or stuff like that. So they're going to know exactly what their obstacles are, exactly what the stuff they need to do, and the time frame. And again, I tell them, it's like 80% them, 20% me. So they have to really, really be motivated to stay, to work.
Absolutely.
But when you do, it'll change your life. I think you think different and everything.
You're right, and you're saying when you're saying 80% the individuals and 20% you all, because again, you don't want to enable anyone, but you want to be able to assist them along. And I hear you talking about more money, and it's so important. And you mentioned a moment ago about reducing their debts, and it's so important that people realize that when they're deciding to make that choice to become a homeowner, that they have minimal debts, and they think they can't be debt free or have to be debt free. But if they have minimal debts, that means that they can buy more home. So talk about a little bit about, and I know you talk credit, and I know that is probably a very big issue that you all address there.
Well,
talk a little bit about how that plays into.
Well, credit is a really important part of the whole, home buying process. But not only that, if you're just wanting to get financially secure, you need to know about what you're doing about the credit process. So kind of like credit reporting agency, credit reports, what are the credit problems I can have, or how can I establish credit. It's just not knowing what you're doing. And of course, in that we also do your consumer rights. A lot of people really don't know they have a lot of rights as far as credit goes. So, but it is so important to kind of like, all that information is power. So, remember what we say, knowledge is power.
That's right.
And so when you go and make a decision somewhere, you've got that power, because you're going to make a more educated. And when things are really stressful and where times are really bad, and if we don't have that knowledge, that's when we make the worst decisions.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. And we're talking about that. We're talking about getting a person to the point where they're ready for homeownership. And I know that, Amy, you work at it from a different angle. When they come through the program, they get all the things they need in place, you can help them with rehab. So talk a little bit about some of the rehab things that are going on with DASH.
Well, right now we have a new source of funding. And that has enabled us to be able to work throughout all of Troup County. We hope to have that active in the very near future, possibly within a few weeks. We have a larger source of funding, and that's the one we've been using with the City of LaGrange, and we've just recently got approved for the City of Hogansville and for unincorporated Troup County. And this funding is mostly just for health and safety code related repairs. So this will include stuff like electrical, plumbing, siding, roofing, flooring, things such as that. We can address windows, heating and air. I do have a program or a source of funding coming available that will address strictly energy weatherization improvements. So it can cover stuff like insulation, but it can go as far as heating and air, windows, exterior doors, include weather stripping, things such as that. And then there's another source of funding that addresses strictly the handicap accessibility.
Okay.
And that's going to cover things like a zero-step entry, widened doorways, grab bars in your bathroom to help you in and out of the shower, and things. You can even lower countertops with that.
Oh, okay. So you have a number of sources of funding there, and it's great to see that we're expanding to Hogansville. You say just got approved, and also the unincorporated area, where I think in the past primarily the funds were focused inside the City of LaGrange. So now you're broadening that horizon. What are some of the qualifications, Amy, if you just mention a few of those that the viewing audience might need to have in place?
Well, you've got to be low income, and that's established by HUD's guidelines of the area median income. You've got to be 80% or below that area median income, and that is adjusted for household size. So of course, someone that's got a household of 5 could have a higher income than someone with a household of one or 2. You do have to be located within Troup County, and what was another one?
Homeowner. I think
yes, you have to be owner occupied. So you have to own the property, and you have to live in the property as your primary residence.
Okay, all right, very good. And again, you're talking about all of those things, and I heard you mentioning like the weather stripping and insulation, and those are so important, because I think a lot of times when people have high utility bills, due to heat or airing, it's because of the improper insulation. So you all have funding now available to help address those, correct?
Yeah. Well, this funding not only improves the home and gives them a safer and more comfortable place to live, but when you address things like that, you're also lowering their energy bill. So in a sense, you're touching on what she does to help improve their finances as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I know that there are some homes that are being built as we talk about, we're talking about home ownership, and there's some homes that I know that has a lot of excitement in the City of LaGrange over on the corner of Raglan and Colquitt Street. Either talk about those homes that are going up there.
Okay, well, those are the Tucker cottages, and they are they'll be rent houses, but they're 1 to 2 bedrooms. They'll have 2 baths, single car garage, which is really exciting. You know, that's a first. And then there is age limits 55 and older, so they do have a little bit. You know, that's usually different too from what we do. They are Earthcraft certified homes, and but I think that they have a waiting list of those, so we have a number for them to call, and that is Cheryl Milton. Can I just give that out?
Yes, by all means.
Cheryl Milton, 706-882-7668.
Okay.
So, and again, that's Cheryl Milton, 706-882-7668. So those are really exciting.
Absolutely. You know, I get calls from time to time to their City Hall, people asking how can they get in touch with someone. And you say you already have a waiting list for individuals to get in those homes?
We do.
And I drove through there the other day, and they look very, very nice. And it looks as if the about 7 or 8 of them are ready to be occupied here pretty soon.
Like Amy said, I think that they're moving in phases. So they do need to call. They'll be moving in sometime around July, August, or but when they talk to Cheryl, she'll be able to give them all that. But they are moving in phases.
Okay, all right, very good. Now, as we get ready to close up, if the lenders have people, we have a few moments left, if lenders have someone that they like to refer to you all that may not be homeownership ready today, can they do that?
Oh, yes. Yes, certainly. We do get that. And also I wanted to add really quick that we now have, if lenders have somebody that are qualified and they need that education to get down payment assistance, we now actually have an e-home online program that they can just go in instead of having to come to the actual class, but it'll depend on the lender whether they want them to take an actual class, 8-hour class or not. Okay,
and it's so beneficial for them to take that 8-hour class because they get the benefit of hearing questions that other attendees ask that they may have wanted to ask but just were afraid to ask.
Exactly.
So it's so many more benefits there. Well, ladies, I want to thank you both for coming on and just sharing this information, and definitely have to have you ladies come back on again and to continue to talk about the success of those programs. Okay.
Exactly. And thank you for having us.
Thank you, ladies, very much. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're back for more City Week in just a moment.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Chris Taylor from the LaGrange Fire Department. During the summer season, remember these safety tips. Keep combustible material a safe distance away from heat sources. Always use a flashlight, not a candle, for emergency lighting. Install working smoke alarms on every level of your home, inside and outside sleeping areas. If you have a fire hydrant near your home, keep it clear of debris for easy access by the fire department. And remember, if you have an emergency and you need the LaGrange Fire Department, the big red truck is just a phone call away. Have a safe summer.
I'm Damon Jones with American Medical Response, Troup County EMS. Here to remind you this summer, be especially careful for heat exhaustion. The body's an amazing thing, but it has a hard time or a difficult time coping with the Georgia heat and Georgia humidity. So try to plan your days accordingly. If you know you're going to be outside for extended periods of time, then make sure you drink plenty of fluids. Some early signs of heat exhaustion would be edema, the swelling of your feet, the swelling of your hands. If you start noticing this happening, then you need to immediately find somewhere cool to go. Drink plenty of fluids, and if needed, call 911 or call us for help. Heat exhaustion can lead to heat stroke. Heat stroke's very serious. It can lead to loss of consciousness, even death. So this is Damon again with American Medical Response, Troup County EMS, reminding you to be safe this summer. If you have any questions, we're here for you. Stop by the office or give us a call.
Welcome back to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're sitting down with City Manager Tom Hall as we get ready to talk about the budget. Tom, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Alton.
Well, Tom, you know, a lot of times we put together the 2012-2013 budget and we present to the Mayor and Council a finished product. But let's talk a little bit about the work that goes on behind the scenes prior to it getting to them.
Yeah, it's always subject to them deciding to make changes, which invariably they make some changes, particularly as it goes to the funding of outside agencies. But to your question, the budget process actually takes a few months to get through. The City of LaGrange is a pretty complicated organization. Our budget's a little larger than $100 million a year, which is where it's been for the last 3 or 4 years. But the process actually starts in March. I send the city department heads out basically forms and information for the upcoming budget. They submit back to my office their budget requests for the coming fiscal year, which starts in our case the coming July the 1st. And once they submit those by the end of March, then basically the whole month of April, as you're aware, I sit down and spend hours and hours and hours with the department heads going through each request and cutting them methodically to something that we can afford. And then once that process is through, usually sometime early in May, I have an opportunity to review the document with the mayor and city council. Now that budget ends up being, I don't know, 100 plus pages of data. And so it's a pretty detailed, exhaustive budget. When we do it, we do take kind of a zero-based budgeting approach. We start from $1 in each line item and determine what's needed. Unlike our friends at the federal government that start with last year's budget and just increase it by X%, we don't do that. So it's a zero-based budget. There's a lot of hours and time that go into it, but by the time we present it to mayor and council, we always present them a balanced budget, which is required by Georgia law. That's right. And they make amendments to it as they see fit. And then the month of June is basically going through the public hearing process to allow the public any input they would have on the budget. And ultimately, it's adoption by the end of June for implementation that following July the 1st. That's
right. And you're talking about we meet with the department heads, we go through and you kind of meticulous cut out various things. Now, and me being a department head, I know a lot of times we sometimes tend to ask for things that we may need to do our jobs. Sometimes it's just a want list, but talk about how you go into determining those things that you actually cut out before it gets to the
Well, I have a pretty good feel early on for what we're going to be able to afford.
That's right.
So there's just certain things we can't do. We may need to replace a dump truck or what have you, and what we've got to do is prioritize. If a certain department, the street department, say wants a dump truck or a street sweeper, we've got to determine what the condition of those two pieces of equipment are. If we can only afford one of them, we've got to prioritize. And I asked the department heads to give me the priority list, and invariably I guess we need the dump truck more. So we go through that process. Each piece of equipment, in terms of capital items, is reviewed, but all line items, office supplies are reviewed. And I look at historical data and what new technologies have changed that might allow us to eliminate paper or that sort of thing and try to cut back on those budgets. So it's all looked at. The hardest thing that to get out of me from a department head, take a guess.
Those frivolous wants.
No, well maybe, but
yes.
New people.
Yeah.
The City of LaGrange is very careful not to add fixed costs. People are a fixed cost. If you have to get a dump truck one year, you don't have to get a dump truck the next year.
That's right.
But if you add an employee, unless you're in a position to lay that person off because you didn't need them in the first place, that person's with you for some period of time. So if you look at us over time, we've actually not grown city employment at all. In fact, if you take out and look over the last 15 years, at the same services we provided 15 years ago, we're actually down about 35, 40 people.
That's right.
Now we've added some things that changed that a little bit. We've added commercial sanitation and telecommunications, but those things pay for themselves.
That's right.
So they're no net burden on the existing ratepayers. In fact, they more than pay for themselves and help offset the need for taxes and other things. So that process is exhaustive. We take it very seriously. And again, if you look at our budgets over time, on the personnel side of things, we've not increased numbers of people. On the total expense side of things, the changes have been very marginal. In fact, I think 3 or 4 years ago, our budget was $104 million.
That's right.
This year it's 101. Now, a lot of that's got to do with things that are out of our control, like energy costs and what have you. So it's we're aggressive about we do need things. We're going to provide quality services to people, and we have to take care of our people who are not going to stay with us.
That's right.
But the pie is limited, and my job and what the mayor and council asked me to do is to slice that pie up in a way that allows us to provide the services our citizens want, but not create extra burdens on them in the form of taxes or utility rates.
That's right. And talking about taxes and utility rates, Tom, talk a little bit about the enterprises that the city operates in order to maintain that zero millage rate for the citizens of LaGrange.
Yeah, we, our budget's $101 million. I think the general fund is about $22 million. The vast majority of the rest of that, $80 million is the provision of enterprises.
Right.
Which includes electricity, natural gas, water, sewer, sanitation, commercial sanitation, telecommunications, and some other things. So it's a very diverse group of enterprises, but we are very careful, and we're able to transfer about $10 million, 9.5 maybe, of retained earnings from those enterprises in order to the general fund to pay our police officers and our firefighters and not have the need for taxes. But we're very careful to make sure those things are priced in terms of a service in a way that just doesn't be another way to tax. In other words, our electric service is provided below that of competitive providers in the area. Our natural gas is sold below that of other competitive providers in the area, so that the transaction, when a customer decides to buy stuff, represents a value to them. They're better off from a financial perspective buying from the City of LaGrange, which is great. And since they actually own these systems, the benefits to them as the owner is they don't have to pay property taxes as well.
That's right.
So it's a pretty good arrangement. We think it serves the citizens well, and it served the city government as well over the years.
Absolutely. And you're talking about, we transfer about $9.5 million from the utility fund to the general fund to carry on to help subsidize those departments that are not generators of revenues. Talk a little bit about, because I know that we have a number, but talk a little bit about the methane gas that we have that's a revenue generator for.
That's in our sanitation fund. What we do is we harvest methane gas out of our landfill. And a lot of landfills have to harvest methane gas because it's kind of a natural byproduct of decomposing garbage. We actually take it a step further. We recirculate the rainwater that falls into the landfill to keep the garbage wet. And that generates extra methane gas. Now, methane gas is kind of nasty stuff. It's if you look at greenhouse gases, it's about 22 times as bad as carbon dioxide, and so it's very heavily regulated by the Georgia Environmental Protection Division. But what we do is we collect it through various vacuum pipes in the garbage stack, and then we sell it to some of our industries, Interface and Milliken here locally, as boiler fuel. We sell it to them at a 30% discount to the spot price for natural gas. But for them, that represents a real value, and for us it does too, because we don't have to go out and buy the natural gas to resell. It's just a natural product of the landfill. It costs a little money on the capital side to put that in, but environmentally it's a very sound practice. It keeps the methane out of the air, which is the big problem.
That's right.
It keeps inverse pressure on your landfill because there's those pipes sucking on it all the time, which keeps things escaping from the landfill, which protects groundwater. So all in all, it's a very good project. We partnered on it with Interface initially. We appreciate their leadership, and Milliken has been a great participant as well. And that landfill will create methane gas for at least another 50 years.
That's right.
So it's a good, environmentally sound, long-lasting project.
Absolutely. And we're talking about the budget. We're talking about $101 million, no taxes for, and that's, we've had that in place for about 16 years
15
now?
or 16 years.
16 years.
And there's even better news in the budget in terms of cost to citizens. This year, we retired a long-standing water and sewer bond issue. A bond issue just requires annual debt service. Since that's retired, we're in a position actually now to lower water and sewer rates, which effective July the 1st is going to be in place. We have budgeted basically $1.5 million less than we had budgeted in the previous fiscal year, all of which will be returned to customers. So everybody should be getting a little bit of a break on their water and sewer bill. Also, Electric bills will be going down for at least the foreseeable future, because the cost basically of natural gas has come way, way down below where the budget was, and the billing is done on the budget.
Okay.
And since the cost is, we don't keep that money, we return it to customers. So electric rates will be reduced, as well as water and sewer rates. The water and sewer rate, I expect, will be a permanent reduction, and once that money's paid back from the budget versus actual on the cost of natural gas, they'll go back to the standard rate. But as far as a cost of government perspective, I'm pleased that we're in a position to lower the cost for our residents and businesses, and still provide the services that everybody expects.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question now on the water rates. I know we do sell water outside the city limits. Now, will they see a reduction in water rates as well? Because I know there's two different tiers there.
Yes. Basically, the city sells about $10 million of water a year and about $5 million of sewer. Now, in the city, a lot of customers have sewer, but a lot also don't.
That's right.
Where I live in the city, but I don't have sewer service. So what we did is we took 2/3 of the reduction and put it on the water rates. Everybody that's a water customer is going to see that reduction, and that includes the wholesale customers of the city, which includes Hogansville, West Point, and the city of Greenville, as well as the unincorporated area and our own residents here in LaGrange. And 1/3, since 1/3 of the sales are sewer, and made the reduction there, and that will only impact the sewer system customers, all of which I think are in the city of LaGrange.
Okay, well, very good. Well, again, Tom, we appreciate you doing a wonderful job here with the City of LaGrange. I know the mayor and council are very proud of you. I, as a department head, are very pleased to work with you. You do a great job there, balancing the budget, making sure that we do have the things that we need to run our operations efficient. So I just want to say thank you for that.
You were going to get a raise anyway, Alton.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for sitting down and sharing that information with us, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back for more City Week in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining for City Week this week. My guests have been from Dash for LaGrange, Homeownership Manager Elia Baltez, and also Housing Specialist Amy Grantham, as they talk to us about the number of programs that are offered through Dash to help not only citizens here in the City of LaGrange, but also in the unincorporated Troup County area. So by all means, if you have questions, give them a call. I'm sure they will be happy to assist you. Also, I had City Manager Tom Hall on as we discussed the 2012-2013 City of LaGrange budget. By all means, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions about the budget, we stand ready to answer any of those questions. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed these interviews. And as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.
Hi, my name is Rachel and I'm a flight nurse with Air Evac Life Team. I'm here to talk to you today about helmet safety. Whether riding a bicycle, motorcycle, or ATV, it's always a good idea to wear your helmet. Helmets not only prevent serious brain injury, they may just save your life. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, bicycle helmets are effective 85 to 88% of the time in preventing brain injury. For motorcycle riders, helmets prevent death 29% of the time and are 67% effective in preventing significant brain injury. In Georgia and Alabama, all bicycle riders age 16 and under are required to wear a helmet. Motorcycle riders in both states are required to wear a helmet at all times. Make sure when purchasing a helmet for bicycles, it has the Consumer Product Safety Committee sticker on it, or CPSC sticker. All motorcycle helmets should have a DOT approved or Department of Transportation approved helmet. Make sure that your helmet fits properly. It should fit snug but comfortable, should not slide from side to side or up and down. Ensure that it sits level on your head, low on your forehead, and never tilted back. Ensure that your helmet does not have any visible cracks or damage, and that you don't wear a helmet that's been involved in an accident. Helmets involved in wreck can have unseen damage and may not adequately protect you. For more information on helmets, you can visit the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration website at www.nhtsa.gov. As emergency medical providers in your community, we see a large increase in head injuries over the summer months, especially those related to bicycle, ATV, and motorcycle accidents. Please wear your helmet. It's not only the law, it's the smart thing to do and might just save your life. Have a fun and safe summer from your Troup County Air Evac Life Team crew.